So first of all, everyone, my name is Yaniv Bardayan. I am the CEO and co-founder of Balkan Cyber, a company that was born out of vulnerability management, and specifically the process of orchestrating and orchestrating the process of remediation of vulnerabilities. We started from CVEs, but today the term vulnerabilities is no longer unanimous with CVEs. It's actually way broader, as we have seen from the latest analysis, of the latest report by David. I think the main thing that I see, I'm not sure if everyone can see my screen yet. Sorry. Yeah. Now here we go. The main thing that we see here as we go in is that unlike something like 7 to 8 years ago, where we scanned our infrastructures and environments in very particular places by very particular products, today in 2022, across multiple attack surfaces, we deploy multiple scanners that are scanning the same environments from different angles. The result of that is not only that we have more UIs to walk through and more vulnerabilities to attend to, it's also the data is becoming duplicated, harder to understand and put in context, harder to connect to assets and to connect to owners. And the entire process that was never easy per se is not only becoming more complicated, but actually becoming more dependent on multiple people, multiple processes, multiple tools, and multiple teams. This creates a world where if we want to manage our vulnerabilities appropriately, we have to work across multiple platforms in a way that is just unscalable, not even to the smallest environments or by the largest teams. Now, I think the main question when we look at it is why. Even in the past, when we had only one vendor that scanned our infrastructure, we still had the challenges. And the challenges, as we learn in Vulcan also from the survey, is a challenge first and foremost of data and ownership. Now, these things are tied in directly together, both in the old world where vulnerabilities and CVEs were the same, and in the new world where a vulnerability might be a misconfigured SaaS application or an open misconfigured S3 bucket. The issue is that not only that we need to tie the data together to multiple data points that exist in different areas of the enterprise. It could be the CMDB or the ownership database. It could be different ITSM or SDLC management tools down to different scanners. It's also about the fact that ownership became more democratized. It's not that one IT person or one IT team are owning a machine or an infrastructure. Different people have different ownership structures, or different organizations have different ownership structures on the same, sometimes assets, the same applications, the same pieces of code. And the process of just finding the right person to assign a remediation task is becoming very, very complicated. Now, us as security practitioners, we have the full program responsibility and ownership. We can see that clearly from the survey. No matter how mature you are, no matter who you are, the perception of who owns the overall vulnerability management program is always associated, or in vast majority of cases, associated with security. Also, vulnerability and risk analysis is associated with security almost directly across both traditional as well as more modern attack surfaces. But when it comes to remediation, it almost always not security. It's almost always dependent on the person that is owning the asset, owning the application, responsible in particular software, had written the code, or is managing the organization that had written the code, while security are responsible in providing the insights, reporting, assigning, sometimes giving paths towards resolution, and eventually overseeing that something is solved in a certain period of time. And this is where we, in our perception, try to tie in the data with the ownership aspect of it, and try to provide better tools for customers, as well as different enterprises, to actually find the right people, feed them with the best data we can feed them, and help them eventually achieve what is our responsibility and what we are held accountable on. Now, when we look at it, it doesn't matter how big of an organization you are or how small. as I said, in most of the cases, security are not the ones that remediate. Security are the ones that assign tasks for remediation. And they are eventually walking away to other teams, sometimes in different geographies, different territories, using different tools. Some teams wants to get as David said, wants to get their insights in Teams or Slack, others in the form of a ticket in ServiceNow, some in Jira, some through email. Doesn't really matter. We as security people have to collaborate and align ourselves to the other team's processes, because we are just one stakeholder of their time versus many other stakeholders in the organization, like product people and others that are competing on the same resources as us. And we have to govern our side of the process, just like product managers are governing their side of the process, or auditors are governing their side of the process, and so on and so forth. At least for us, as we look at this survey, we have a couple of key takeaways, as I said. One, we are held accountable. We are responsible of the program, but we are not in charge when it comes to the actual actions. The actions, or the fact that our responsibility is decreased, eventually create a reality where the attack surface is growing, where actual remediation is extremely difficult. It depended on others. And when we have newer type of vulnerabilities, new stakeholders to work with, new people to align to, our jobs just becomes just more and more impossible. And lastly, when we look at what is the thing that we are trying to achieve, or what we believe will be the tipping point of this problem, is first and foremost consolidation of data, taking all of these distributed pieces of data and putting them in one place. Secondly, associating them to ownership, apart from obviously making the data clearer, better prioritized, deduplicated, and so on. Finding the owner of a particular task, assigning it in an easy and comfortable way to this owner, and providing this owner with the best possible way to fix the problem. This is actually a fairly linear process, where first and foremost, vulnerabilities are a term that we need to kind of relieve ourselves from. Vulnerabilities are associated directly to CVEs in most cases. We're not talking only on CVEs. CVEs alone are not the only threat that is being posed from a postural perspective to the enterprise in the modern world. There are other stuff we as security people need to take care of from a risk perspective, from an operational perspective, and so on. And as we consolidate and then correlate and dedupe the data, enrich it with relevant data pieces, analyze it and prioritize it, once we have this golden piece of data, then we can orchestrate more, collaborate more, and report on the things we are actually resolving. As we look at it, or how we do it in Vulcan, fairly simple. We try to bring all of the different data pieces together. We take data from scanners, we take data from asset inventories. It provides us both the ownership data, the business impact data, and so on. We're trying to understand the context of the outside world, provide the level of analysis that can allow teams to eventually understand better and hopefully automatically what they need to resolve first, and then drive the process in the form of cutting tickets to the right people, providing remediation tools to the right people, providing reporting capabilities to the right people, in order to empower other teams to be better remediation agents. We look at consolidation for security, democratization for everyone else. Our job is to empower. Our job is to allow other people, the people who are responsible on remediation, to be successful. The more successful they are, the more supportive we are, the better the program will function, the more mature we will be, and honestly, the more risk we will reduce. That's the entire idea. There are many ways to do that, and we believe that Vulcan provides one of these ways. There are other ways in the market, as David said. We believe that it's all eventually rooted in consolidation of data, improving the way we observe this data, and assigning the data to the right person with the right tools to actually remediate. That's fairly how we read the reality. This is how we believe things should eventually be handled. And I'm going to pass it on back to David, both for some Q&A as well as further discussion. So David, back to you.